Well, I'm back again one more time with all of you, but this podcast is going to be very special because we have someone very special that I respect, I admire him, and I wish one day I can be like him. Even one cent of that will be a pleasure. We have राजीव दुबे सर है विद अस. वैसे तो दुबे सर को किसी इंट्रोडक्शन की ज़रूरत नहीं है, बट फिर भी कुछ ऐसी बातें हैं जो शायद आप उनके बारे में नहीं जानते हैं. वो पिछले 50 साल से थिएटर कर रहे हैं, पिछले 50 साल से योगा प्रैक्टिशनर हैं. ही हैज़ डन हिज पास्ट लाइफ रिग्रेशन, ही हैज़ डन फायर वॉक, ही हैज़ बीन टू मानसरोवर, एंड देयर इज अ स्पिरिचुअल एंगल टू हिज लाइफ that will blend today and today's podcast. But the most important thing we're going to talk on this podcast today is tomorrow's leader. How do you really create tomorrow's leader? So this podcast, we are going to focus a lot on creating leaders of tomorrow. Dubey sir, आपका स्वागत है. Welcome to this podcast with me. And thank you being here with us today.
Oh, thank you. It's my privilege, honor, and joy to be having this conversation.
I just want to start this with one small request and say, every time I met you, your energy levels are so consistent, so full of joy, happiness, the space that you enjoy, and you're always radiating that love and regard and affection so much. Where do you draw this from?
I guess I have to be grateful to the Almighty and to the universe. But at a practical level, the one thing I can think of, and it may not be true, I am a very regular practitioner of yoga. मैं हर रोज 2 घंटा योगा करता हूँ.
Awesome.
तो हो सकता है उससे कुछ फर्क पड़ता है. मुझे लगता है कुछ फर्क तो पड़ा, कुछ उम्र से भी फर्क पड़ता है.
That's a good one.
I have for many years been, it sounds dramatic, a soul in torment. हालांकि जो दूसरों को कभी नहीं मालूम हुआ, लेकिन अंदर से काफी एक टर्बुलेंस था, लेकिन अब नहीं है. अब नहीं है.
And how you overcame that? I mean, कैसे किया आपने उसको ओवरकम?
देखिए, ये तो जिंदगी के सफर में ही ओवरकम हुआ. बट एट अ कॉन्शियस लेवल आई वुड से योगा. फिर हमने कुछ पास्ट लाइफ काफ़ी कुछ रिग्रेशन सेशंस किए, फायर वॉकिंग किया, रेकी किया. रेकी के हम मतलब 3rd लेवल हैं. और ये नेचर से बहुत मुझे इंस्पिरेशन एंड जॉय एंड सस्टेनेंस मिलता है. बहुत लोगों से बातचीत होती है और स्वाध्याय. तो इन सब चीज़ों का मिला जुला के बच्चों से सीखना, अपनी वाइफ से बहुत कुछ सीखा, पेरेंट्स से कितना सीखा, ब्रदर से सीखा. तो धीरे धीरे लाइफ में देखिए हम लोग अपना प्रारब्ध लेके आते हैं और अपना पुरुषार्थ करना पड़ता है. अब उसमें कभी ऊपर, कभी नीचे, कभी सनलाइट, कभी डार्कनेस, ये सब होता है.
आई एम श्योर. और उसमें पास्ट लाइफ के भी आपके कुछ गुण हैं, संस्कार हैं जो आपके साथ आए हैं, बट हम उसके ऊपर आगे चल के बात करते हैं. दिस पर्टिकुलर टाइम आई वांट टू यूज, और आई लाइक टू टेक बेनिफिट फॉर मी एंड फॉर द ऑडियंस, इज a subject which is very close to your heart. Is about creating leaders of tomorrow.
Yes.
So when we talk about leaders of tomorrow, how do you see the world? The world is moving away. There's a new way to say the world is moving from VUCA world to the Bani world. How do you see the leaders of tomorrow in this new world?
So I think I need to just say a little bit about what this new world or new normal will look like. One, of course, that there are these tectonic forces that are shifting. We talk a lot about technology, and of course, that is going to be everywhere. But in addition to technology, there are 3 other big forces that are changing, and these are all vitally impacting the forces of supply and demand of goods, services, skills, leadership skills, what have you. So, in addition to technology, there is demographic shifts taking place. There are huge geopolitical shifts taking place. And I think the mother of all will be shifts in climate. So this is the new normal then. I would characterize it in 3 parts. One, you have said VUCA stroke Bani, and I guess our audience is very familiar with those terms. The second one is pushback by all stakeholders, whether it be consumers, whether it be members of the supply chain, our own employees, shareholders, of course, governments, communities that we live in, and above all, Mother Earth. They will be pushing back. And the third one is hyper-connectedness. So in this new normal, what is going to happen from an organizational point of view is that there will be need for proactive and iterative decision making right through the value chain. So you know that old command and control model will be very inadequate because we need distributed leadership where people are sort of empowered and are have the capability to take these decisions right through the value chain. And that requires a deep and empathetic understanding of stakeholder needs, right? So now distributed leadership and innovation, resilience, and agility. So these are the four things that will be required both at the organizational level and at the level of individuals and of leaders. So that's the context that I see the new world as.
And that's very deep, by the way. And I'm not sure if many leaders are talking about.
Oh, they are, I'm sure.
Well, I'm sure they are talking about it, but I'm not sure if everybody's talking holistically, especially from a nature's, the pushback coming from the Mother Earth, the pushback coming from the universe altogether for all of us. But coming back to what you just mentioned, all this thing, when we talk about leaders of tomorrow, how does it imply to the organization? What organizations have to do to create leaders of tomorrow?
Okay, so at the big level, the performance or any outcome in an organization, and I would say for the individual, is the result of the dance, the interplay between three spaces. One is purpose.
Sure.
The second one is vision, mission, strategy, structure, processes, metrics. And then there is a third space, which is to do with people, attitudes, beliefs, values, competencies, the behavior finally, as a result of all this, which we call culture. So the dance between purpose, strategy, and culture is what produces any output. And therefore, to create tomorrow's leaders, what are their behaviors, what are their competencies, will be the result of the interplay of purpose, strategy, and the purposeful culture that we create, right? So that's what. So now, specifically, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I'll just give you the headline.
No,
and then
but that's very interesting. And I must say that's very deep, in fact, very profound that you're talking.
Okay. So that's very kind of you to say that. But so coming back, so we have the new normal and we have this interplay between three forces. So you have to address all the spaces.
Sure.
But let me, for the sake of this conversation, not talk too much about the vision, mission, strategy, structure, processes piece. That's absolutely vital, but I'm not going to talk about that. I will focus more on the purpose and on the culture or the behavior side.
Absolutely.
So first requirement for the organization is to have clarity about what our purpose is. Okay? Then what are the attitudes and behaviors that we need to create in tomorrow's leaders to produce distributed leadership, innovation, agility, and resilience? So let me suggest provocatively three attitudes. First one, accept no limits. Second one, alternative thinking. There are hatke. And the third one, above all, ensuring that we are driving positive change in the lives of the stakeholders and communities that we interact with. So these are three, if you like, pillars for tomorrow's leaders. What are the behaviors that will bring these pillars to life seamlessly and effortlessly in every interaction, in every decision that the leaders take? These 5 behaviors I would like to suggest. Number 1, ability to use the whole mind in any situation. Whole mind means combining the so-called left brain of logic, intellect, rationality, programming with the so-called right brain of empathy, compassion, imagination, connection. The second one is being a multiplier. When the mantra is to do more with less, we need multipliers. Multipliers of what? Energy, passion, engagement, of creating a sense of ownership, which means that the old command and control model will go. Okay, let me not go too deep. Let me just give you the headlines, and then if you're interested, you can ask me
Sure,
to
sure,
unpack
certainly.
and
Makes
give me.
sense, yeah.
So the first one was
The whole brain.
using the whole mind. The
Yeah.
second one was being a multiplier. The third one has to do with knowing how to manage fear and leveraging failure. The fourth one has to do with mindfulness in the sense of being open to all possibilities that exist in any
Beautiful.
situation
Very beautiful.
by not being a prisoner of my own past. That's the fourth one. And the fifth one, last but not least, perhaps the most important, trust. To be able to generate trust where people trust you and you trust others. And this trust, the main component of that, you need some competency, of course, is authenticity. Okay? So, in a nutshell, there is this, if you like, a 3+5 formula. 3 attitudes for tomorrow's leaders: accept no limits, alternative thinking, above all, driving positive change. 5 behaviors: using the whole mind, being a multiplier, knowing how to manage fear and leverage failure, being mindful, open to all possibilities, and trust.
Absolutely. Now, that's very interesting, Dubey sir. And one of the things we have learned that we become who we are today is based on my past life sanskar that I borrowed. The
I mean,
family.
everyone may not agree, but
Okay.
I believe that.
You believe that? All right. So, what I carry from my past life,
Yeah.
my upbringing, the parents that I was born with, my siblings, my school education, my first job, second job, my bosses, the books that I read. So, we become what we have acquired, our experiences, and also the past life that I acquired in this life, right? The point I'm making is some of the things that you're talking to all of us today is about new things. Which, so how does one acquire? If I'm not born with this attitude, 5 attitude that you spoke about it, what are the ways by which one can acquire this attitude?
Yes. Okay. So, first of all, I think, at least I'm very clear that it is not true that leaders are born, right?
Okay.
Leaders are created, and it's entirely this confluence. One is, if you like, prarabdh, which we have no control of, and then it is all the purusharth that we do. The influences are there, and therefore we can keep changing, right? And there's a lot of now neuroscience which is suggesting that. So the good news is that all these things can be acquired. How do you acquire anything? I'll give you an answer that may appear simple, but that's my answer. First is, you have to be aware that I want to acquire this. So first is awareness. The second is having an intention. मैं ये करना चाहता हूँ.
जी.
And the third is, given my awareness and given my intention, to keep practicing it. Simply ask yourself, am I using my whole mind? Could I have done more? Am I being a multiplier? When I'm in a situation where fear is overtaking me, can I see my fear and yet go ahead and take action? And very importantly, if I fail, am I learning from failure? I didn't unpack these, but each of these 5 can be unpacked. But the answer to your question is awareness, intention, and then practice. Practice, 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 reflect, learn, improve, fail, learn, improve. There is no substitute to that. Now, the organization can put into place a culture. Culture is the way we behave as we go about doing our business. And how is culture created? It's created through the good old HR lever. So that's the technical answer. But above all, I would say, it's the way that the leaders behave. Are they living these 3? And the leaders can live these 3 by the formula of awareness, intention, practice, and reflecting, learning, improving through practice.
Beautiful. Now, there's one question that comes to my mind. If I'm part of an organization
Yeah.
where the leaders are not walking the talk, what you just said,
Yes.
and the HR is not focusing on the culture that is required for tomorrow's leader, then what choices I have as an individual?
First choice is, should I remain in this organization or should I leave? That's the first choice. And if I choose to remain in the organization, then let me focus on what I can do and what I should do. You
Perfect.
see, most of us go about in life being victims, thinking that we are the cause of other people's actions. But I believe the truth is that that we are the effect of other people's. I am
Sure.
the victim, I am the effect. But the truth is that we are the creators and the cause of our own life. If that shift takes place, I am in an organization, I'm seeing that my leaders are not walking the talk. What do I do? Well, I must do that which I think is correct. Let me be the cause of my own behavior. Let me, in my own world, whatever little I can do, let me walk the talk. Let me live it. And, let me not keep saying, oh, यहाँ ये नहीं हो सकता है, यहाँ वो नहीं हो सकता है, तो मैं भी कुछ नहीं करूँगा. Which is what most of us do.
Yes.
If instead of that we say, ठीक है, let me focus on what I can do and what I should do.
What is in my control?
What is in my control? And even if I am impacting 5 people, 3 people, 2 people, let me start from there.
Sure.
And I have seen that when you start, everything starts small. And then some things build up. A small push becomes a wave, and a wave becomes a tidal wave, and those things do happen. But at the core of it is always one person who says, मैं करूँगा ये. And then sometimes you create that wave, you create that movement. Sometimes you may fail also. Life में कोई guarantee थोड़ा ना है. There is no guarantee that I will walk out of this studio alive.
Right.
There is no guarantee of that. So that doesn't mean that I am immobilized and paralyzed by fear, because मुझे guarantee चाहिए. आप मुझे बताइए, give me the surety that this will happen. I can't give you that surety. Life is like that. Life is about uncertainty. Thank God, how boring it would be if we knew what was going to happen. The joy of life comes from uncertainty, from not knowing what will happen, from knowing that I have many choices and making those choices.
Absolutely. Dubey sir, some of the things that you're talking are very evolved. I can tell you, I'm young compared to you in terms of my age and also experience. But some of the things that you're talking are very profound. This whole joy to in an uncertain environment, to be aware, then to create an intention. So let's demystify and make it more simpler for हमारे जैसे लोगों के लिए. इसको सिंप्लीफाई कीजिए थोड़ा सा कि अवेयरनेस की जो जर्नी है वो कहाँ से शुरू करें. अगर मेरे को अवेयरनेस ही नहीं है तो या तो कोई आके मुझे अवेयरनेस, somebody will bring that awareness to me, or I have to take an initiative to get more aware about it, right? So let's hypothetically assume awareness has come.
हाँ.
So now to create the intention, where do I start from? And then how do I acquire? Where do I go? Which course do I go? Which book do I read? Where do I start the journey in case the organization is not helping me?
देखिए साहब, any journey starts with the first step. ठीक है? And एक बड़ा अच्छा American proverb, I think it's an American, which says, the only way to do something is to do it. समझे ना? तो बस शुरुआत आप करें ना, and then you take one step at a time. The most difficult thing is to take that first step.
Right.
You mentioned कि fire walking मैंने किया है. I remember my first fire walk. This was in 1996. This was on the edge of the Black Forest in Germany. रात के करीब 12 बजे होंगे. I stood at the edge of that fire pit. I saw the glowing coals. I had seen other people walk, so I knew it was possible to walk. And I was standing there full of fear and doubt and anxiety and confusion. And then suddenly I said, मुझे करना है. And I looked at that fire. I'm telling you exactly what happened. Two thoughts came into मैंने कहा एक तो साहब ये भारत माता के ऑनर के लिए मुझे करना, बाकी सब गोरे थे, दो तीन हम लोग हिंदुस्तान के थे. मैंने इंडिया, दैट फर्स्ट थॉट. And the second one, I said, all my life I have been scared. I have built these walls of fear around me that have become a prison. This is my opportunity to walk to freedom from my own fears. And I looked at that fire and I said, Mother, take me. And that first step I took, that. उसके बाद first step ले लिया. Instructions were two. Walk only when you have made peace with the fire, and once you start walking, don't come back or try to jump out of the fire pit. तो एक स्टेप लिया, उसके बाद दूसरा, तीसरा, चौथा, फिर तो मैं निकल ही गया. तो लाइफ में भी ऐसा है that you have to take that first step, and then once you take that first step, then you start getting to know और क्या करना है, कौन सी किताब पढ़ना है, किसके साथ बात करना है, क्या करना है, आता जाता है. लेकिन शुरू हम लोग नहीं करते हैं. You have to start. And that is the advice I'd like to give for any of these, and we can unpack. So, practical advice क्या है? एक तो, if you like this 3+5, you're not obliged to. ये 3+5 हम लोग का महिंद्रा में था, महिंद्रा राइस का था. और ये निचोड़ थी, there was, महिंद्रा साहब थे, हम लोग थे. This is what we wanted for tomorrow's leaders. हम लोग ने भी बहुत कुछ किताबें पढ़ी, आर्टिकल्स पढ़ा, ये किया, वो किया, अपने भी व्यूज थे, उन सब का मिश्रण करके we chose this 3+5. ठीक है? Now, where was why 3 and why not 2? I don't know. Why 5 and why not 6? I don't know. 3+5 था. बाद में हम लोगों ने रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग करना शुरू. 5 तत्व की ईंट बनी है, 3 गुणों का गारा.
क्या बात है.
अरे वाह साहब. But that's not the truth. We didn't start like that. कि 3 करेंगे, 3 attitudes and 5 behaviors. वैसे ही हो गया. But we took the courage or the foolhardiness to say हम लोग करते हैं इसको. नेसेयर्स तो भरे ही रहते हैं ना, ये क्या बकवास है, ये पोइट्री है, फिलॉसफी है, धंधे का बात करो बॉस. लेकिन धंधा अल्टीमेटली एक्चुअली इज फिलॉसफी. आई एम कन्विंस्ड ऑफ दैट. Anand Mahindra often used to say that, the biggest requirement for tomorrow's leader, above all, is to be a good philosopher. Because he saw that all business decisions, if you peel the onion, ultimately are philosophical decisions.
Philosophical or intuitive?
अब now we can, semantics आ जाता है उसको. देखिए, not intuitive.
Okay.
No, you have to combine facts with intuition.
With intuition.
Okay. So intuition cannot become the reason for me not to analyze.
Ji.
You have to use both. Both fact, analysis, as well as something called intuition. So intuition is a bit difficult to decide, but intuition has to be rooted in whatever facts we have. But ultimately, it's all about the inner space. मैं क्या सही समझता हूँ? Why do I choose to go into a line of business? Why do I choose to go into this line and not into some other line? Why do I choose to work to improve or to meet the needs of one particular market segment and not another segment? But how do you make those choices?
Absolutely.
So you could say, we go by what is, the demand-supply gap. But you'll find demand-supply gap in many things. We want to make money. Of course, we have to make money. We want to get return on capital employed. Of course, you want to get. But there are a million ways to do that. अपने उपनिषद में लिखा हुआ है, one truth and a million paths to it.
Absolutely.
So choosing that truth is the first philosophical decision. And which path to take is also ultimately, a philosophical decision. So, let me not try to sort of make it too esoteric. All that I'm trying to say is that in life, it's rarely a question of either this or that. It is both this and that. Is it fact and analysis, or is it intuition that I should use? I should use both. Should I focus on the short term or should I focus on the long term? Boss, you have to look at both. When you're walking, when you're on a journey, you have to have one eye on the next step and one eye on your destination. Like that, everything, if you start analyzing, we always have to, the real choices that we make is between either and or. In that spectrum, where do we choose to be?
The sweet spot.
Which may change
Yes.
over time, which may change depending on what the context is. But it's always never the tyranny of either or, but the power of and.
The power, the genius of and.
उसको आप जो भी कह लीजिए, and foolishness also हो सकती है.
Yes.
You see, and these are all two sides of the same coin.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I'm just curious to know one more thing from you. You mentioned about this 5 attitude of the tomorrow's leader that we are talking
5 behaviors.
5
3
behaviors.
attitudes and 5 behaviors.
5 behaviors.
Yeah.
So leadership is also very contextualized. It's everything is in the context that you're operating. So how do you really bring that in the current context that I may be, what I need tomorrow may be different, what I need today here and now may be different. So how do we align that?
But now that's a difficult question. Yes, I agree that there is context is very important, but I do believe that there are some things, that thing called purpose, which is not necessarily contextual. Almost by definition, purpose is superordinate. It does not keep changing with the context. Sometimes purpose may change, but that does not happen very often. So if the purpose is, I want to drive positive change in the lives of those that I interact with, that purpose remains. But what I need to do, how to do it, for whom to do it, that will keep on changing, right? So we have to be, I think, all of us need some compass, some stable point that we can keep referring to get guidance for the changing decisions and the changing context. And that guidance, which I am calling the inner space, who am I? That is the purpose. So who am I for the organization? Who am I for the individual? And if the two match, very good. If they don't match, then we have the kind of problem that you said.
Got it. Very, very interesting. And I know you have mentioned about this inner space so many times in the last couple of minutes that about 25 minutes that we're talking about it. Guide us, share with us. How does one discover this inner space?
Again, not an easy, but I guess the first start, it starts all with an awareness that, is there something called an inner space? When I look at my own decisions,
Yes.
you take any decision that you make or any choice that you make,
Ji.
and you start asking, why did I make that choice? So when you ask 5 whys,
Ji.
why, you come to something which was, this means a lot to me. And I'm calling that, or this is what I think is right. This is what I think is good. So that is the inner space I'm talking about. That what is it that I want to be remembered for? What do I live for? Why am I doing all this?
Where do I draw my energy from, right?
Then it will. Then once you start, when you discover what am I living for, then that becomes a source of energy. It becomes a source of guidance. It becomes a source of wisdom.
Awesome.
Right? Now, I am not for a moment saying that the inner space should be disconnected from the outer space. No, the two coexist. I'm only saying that if you look only, so I go back to the 3 spaces. The purpose, which is really the inner space. And then you have, aligned with that purpose, you have that whole space of vision, mission, strategy, structure, processes, metrics. And then aligned to the purpose, you have the whole culture piece. Values, attitudes, beliefs, competencies, behavior, the people part. It's the alignment between the 3 or the lack of alignment between the 3.
Yes.
And it's not only, they are interactive. But the one that doesn't really change much is the purpose. And that is what I'm calling the inner space. What do I live for? What is the difference that I want to make to myself and to those that I come in touch with? So there are many ways, and I know people say, "Ki boss, ye purpose na, it's a much used word. It sounds nice in a piece of paper. Dadiwalas like you can stand on the stage and talk about purpose. But what does it mean in practical life? How do I discover what my purpose is? Is that a question that is...
That's a question, in fact, most of the youngsters are asking.
Yeah. So, the only answer, ek to, that you keep thinking and you do this exercise 10 times, what is it that I really want to do? And, and you unpeel it. Why? Why? 5 baar why ke. But ek to ye ho gaya that you're doing swadhyay. The other one is, look at the key decisions that you yourself have made in your life. And ask yourself, why did I make that decision and not some other decision?
Understood.
And I think if you take 5 or 6 of the decisions that you took and try to figure out why you took those decisions, and then you marry it with that sort of hypothetical analysis that you have done, and that also cannot be done in one sitting. Usko bhi 4-5 mein why. And then you see, is there any commonality?
Understood.
And the common factor that comes out, that really is your purpose, because
purpose.
you're living it. Yeah, we all have a purpose, Now, how powerfully we are using that purpose, how much are we aware of it, how do we use it, how do we use it as a source of guidance, as a source of energy, those are the things that vary from person to person and from organization to organization.
Beautiful, sir. I'm mindful of that. We have another 10-15 minutes and don't want to prolong this conversation.
I think
I have 3 things to discuss with you today. One is, I'm mindful of the fact that you've been a theatre artist from your college days onwards, right?
School days.
School days. Okay.
I first acted in a TV play at the age of 9 in 1962.
Wow. I was not even born that time.
I know you were not born.
I know you've been very passionate about. And sometimes I wonder, can passion stay out of your work life? Is hobby can stay outside, or is all interlinked? I mean, what's your view on that, sir?
Of course it is interlinked. We are one human being. Rajeev Dubey is Rajeev Dubey. Now, if he wants to pretend to be one Rajeev Dubey at work, and in that also he is one Rajeev Dubey when he's dealing with his boss, another Rajeev Dubey when he's dealing with his peers, a third Rajeev Dubey when he's dealing with his subordinates, and then when he walks out of the office and goes to the market, he's another Rajeev Dubey. Then he goes home and he's another. That is going to destroy and fragment that Rajeev. The fact is that Rajeev Dubey is one Rajeev Dubey.
The whole person.
And what he is what manifests itself in the behavior and the decisions and the choices, whether it is in the office, whether it is with peers, with bosses, whether it is in the marketplace, whether it is at home with the wife and with children. It's one.
Right.
And if we try to separate them, which I know people say, office mein you have to be something else, and at home you have to be something else, and keep friendships out. And I don't believe in all that.
Sure.
I believe that there is one me, and that one me has to be the me that manifests itself in everything. Now, it doesn't mean that I behave the same way all the time in every situation.
It also contextualizes it, no?
Contextualizes, but there is something that is remaining constant.
Right.
So if I'm saying I want to drive positive change, I'll make every effort. But does it mean that I'll never, for example, disagree with somebody? No. I will, but I will do it in a way that hopefully will produce a positive change.
Or remain in harmony with the situation, right?
Yeah. So all that I'm trying to say is that we must spend sufficient amount of time to answer the question, who am I, at a practical level. I'm not talking about at a level which cannot be translated into practical thing. And we must be that who am I, because that who am I actually is deciding everything that I do and all the choices that I make, whether it is as a CEO, CFO, manager, executive assistant, assistant bottle washer, father, husband. It's the same person. And if I don't know who that person is, I may make decisions that don't give me happiness. Ultimately, we are all looking for something called happiness. No?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll come to that. So the point I wanted to know was that theater, your spirituality. I know you've been practicing yoga for last 50 years. You've been to Mansarovar. All these elements of spirituality, how it has enabled you or how it has helped you to become the person that you are.
No, so see, I followed those or did those things only because I wanted to,
Right.
right? Because there was a crying need in me to find peace of mind. Once I get peace of mind and I'm centered, then I can think better, I can work better, I can give 100% of myself to the karma that I'm doing instead of being anxious, worried, jealous, angry. All that energy that would have gone away in those negative emotions, once I am feeling at peace with myself and I'm centered, all that energy is available to me to go into my decision making and into my karma.
Sure.
So that's the practical implication of spirituality. The people, for me, spirituality is a source of practicality. It is a source of energy.
It's a way of living.
You can also call it a way of living. Okay, I mean, so that's a difficult question.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, for me, they are not two different worlds. So why do I do yoga? Because it makes me feel nice. It gives me peace of mind and it gives me energy also.
Right.
And that energy I'm using to do my karma in life, whatever I'm doing, if I'm in the corporate world, if I'm in a certain position, I'm pouring all my energy into that karma.
From your inner space, right?
And we are all doing it. I mean, whether we are aware or not aware, we are all doing it in any case.
Absolutely.
But if you become aware, then you can use that source to gain more energy and power and clarity.
Got it, sir. Very, very beautiful. So just for, and I know you've been one of the legend in human resources.
I'm not any legend at all. I am a sadak
so
chap who wandered into
thing is,
HR.
as
I don't know whether you're aware, and this is the greatness of life and of Anand Mahindra. I had never been in HR. Anand Mahindra wanted a business background person to head his HR. And he took that risk by taking me. I didn't know if he had asked me what is R&R. I didn't know. PMS, I didn't know. L&D, I didn't know. But I knew that it was all about people.
Sure.
And the role of a leader is to create the conditions where people can be at their best, where their potential can be unleashed to achieving the purpose of the organization. वो मुझे मालूम था through my experiences, long experiences in different jobs. टाटाज में बहुत कुछ घाट घाट का पानी पिया हुआ है.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely.
और ये मुझे क्लियर था विदाउट नोइंग कि भाई PMS है, R&R है, L&D है. And there was a whole battery of professionals, wonderful guys who were there to sort of, support me.
So, Dubey sir, the question I wanted to ask.
I'm sorry, मैं drift कर गया, huh?
No, that's fine. Not at all. Not at all.
Because you said legend, I'm not a legend. I'm a sadak chap.
One other thing, one other thing I've experienced with you is your need to be humble, grounded. I understand that. Tell me, tell the audience, and this is a question for all the young human resources folks who are building their career into their early 30s right now, maybe early 20s. So people who want to build and want to become the HR leaders of tomorrow, what are 3 or 4 things you like to recommend them, would like to suggest from your wisdom that should do starting from tomorrow morning?
Okay, I think what is the role of, I would start from what is the role of HR. And I would dare to suggest the following. The real role of HR is to create a culture, and culture is the way we behave in our everyday life, especially as we go around taking business decisions. So create a culture that results in sustained business outperformance while showing extreme care for all stakeholders and while nurturing and nourishing the core values of the organization. So that is the real role of HR, to create that culture, the smell of the place, and you do that through the HR levers. So as long as we are aware that this is the real role of HR, unleashing the full potential of individuals and ecosystems to achieve the purpose, but it has to be done such that there is sustained business outperformance while showing extreme care for all stakeholders and nurturing and nourishing the core values of the group. If this becomes the context in which we do everything, that I think is what will help people add value to the organization. Because I'm clear that as more and more technology comes in, the role of the human being, of, if you like, the human aspect will become more and more and more important and not less important.
Very, very interesting. So you're saying if you're a young HR person, build everything around, say, what it takes to build the right culture and the whole ecosystem for all stakeholders to flourish together.
Yeah, and knowing that unleashing the potential, enabling people to be at their best to achieve the purpose is the real role of HR. Now you have to employ many things. Of course, you'll have to use technology, you'll have to use interpersonal skills. It's always using the whole mind.
Absolutely.
And all the five things that I talked about will come in there.
Absolutely.
So it all actually is this ecosystem, but I think it provides a very powerful framework, the 3+5 framework. And above all, I'd like to say, and you'll say Dadiwala is going out of control today. I would say there are three things that you must never sacrifice. And actually, there are three words that have been my best friends. And there's a huge business logic to it. But let me tell you what those three words are: Satya, Prem, and Seva. Satya, to speak the truth, but do it respectfully, regardless of the consequences. Prem is compassion, the ability to put myself into the shoes of the other person. And service, Seva, we are here only to serve. Business is only about solving people's problems. So business is only to serve people, and we must remember that. And for the business to serve its stakeholders, we must serve the people that we come in contact with. So this is the gyan that I'd like to.
No, this is very powerful. And I've heard you saying this in everything that every time I've heard you, you always end your talk with these three words. And it has stayed with me. I want to also ask one more question around it. And when I'm in my new role as an executive search headhunter, I can call it, search partners for many clients and many of our candidates, many CXOs and the CEOs are now touching early 50s, then to mid 50s. And sustaining career, when you reach 52, 53, becoming more and more challenging. So how does one plan the next inning of their career, their life? I mean, you look at yourself, you're so beautifully carved out yourself. You retired from Mahindra and Mahindra. You're still active, you're still engaged, joyful, happy. So what is that you suggest to people who are touching their early 50s, mid 50s, how to plan their next phase of their life?
You know, I'm going to be very boring and say exactly what I've said till now. That we have to sit down and ask ourselves, what is it that really matters to me in my life? Because see, nobody's corporate career is going to last forever. And there is so much of life that is left after the traditional corporate career. So we should start trying to identify what is it that really I'm looking for. And it won't come in one sitting. I mean, we have to follow the same process that I've been talking about there. But if you can figure that out, and you know, there could be 1,000,000 answers. I mean, we are all looking ultimately for happiness. Where does happiness come from? It comes from many sources. Relationships is very important. So I think that all human beings have three basic needs. One is the need to be connected, to belong. The second is the need to contribute, to make a difference. And the third is the need to be recognized for what I do, right? So these three needs will remain even after we retire. If we can figure out the vehicle through which we want to get these three basic needs satisfied. And it could be anything. I mean, I can give you my example. What do I do now? Uh, One, of course, I get huge joy out of just being in the present. मैं योगा करता हूँ, मैं वॉकिंग करता हूँ. I get time now to look at the beautiful blue sky, the white clouds passing, the smell of flowers, the sight of trees, the smell of grass. Every moment there is great joy and completeness. So that's one state of mind. I have connected myself to the education space, and I have connected myself to an NGO space, because seva and wanting to give back, and of course to be engaged. I mean, I do want to be engaged. I do want to feel I'm making a difference. All those things have remained. But the manifestation of those needs, which earlier I had to satisfy in a corporate setting, I'm now doing it this way. So I'm very happy. I'm fully occupied, and I'm joyful, and I'm grateful, full of gratitude, and being able to live in the present. So this is the answer that I have tried to find myself. Others have to find their own answers. There is no cookie. We all have to find and discover our own truths. But if we do it consciously and prepare for it, because that day is going to come in any case, like death is going to come, retirement is going to come. Now you're retiring not from life, you're retiring from
the work.
from a particular way of life. Now, from one work situation, you can engage. There's so much work to be done.
Right.
If we find out which way I choose, and then you can keep changing also. These are not set in stone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But there is great joy and happiness beyond corporate life. At least that is my experience.
I'm just curious to know, sir. You know, this whole need for fame, power, money. इसको कैसे overcome करें?
नहीं, इसको ओवरकम मत करें. Once you achieve it ना, then you realize कि भाई that's not, वो ठीक है
Okay.
अपनी जगह. But once you get it, then you start seeking more and more and more, and then you start realizing that what am I really looking for, and that what you're really looking for is something beyond this. So I'm not saying don't look for fame, power, but if you only look for that, and you miss out on things like relationships.
Sure.
We all need to be able to sleep well.
Absolutely.
We need to feel healthy. We need to feel loved and to love. So we should not give that up. If you have all these, and if you can also get fame and whatever the power, that's
Money,
okay.
yeah.
Money, we all need money. But if the pursuit of money is at the cost of giving up these things that really matter, then I think you have to, remember that life is not either or. It is and. Please do pursue money, but don't destroy your relationships.
Awesome. Very beautiful. Tell me, sir, how do you define success? If you have to really, in your own way, what's your definition of success?
You've got me there, my friend. For me, the definition of success, and I have to be brutally honest with you, is to do exceedingly well whatever I choose to do. I must be the best.
Sure.
But while being the best, can I make a positive difference in the lives? Can I bring some happiness in the lives of those that I come in contact with, while I'm pursuing being the best in anything that I choose to do? That for me is success.
And how do you define happiness in your own way, for your own self?
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling.
It's just a feeling. How do you define it? I mean, it's so difficult to define something. I mean, it's a feeling. I'm happy.
And many times when I'm talking to people, in spite of they having everything in life, कहते हैं दिल खाली है या एक contentment नहीं है, एक खालीपन दिखता है. What's your take on that? What individuals, what professionals can do?
Oh, I think the same thing. You have to ask, खाली लगता है, क्यों लगता है? वो पूछना पड़ेगा. And then you have to try out things. You have to experiment कि किस चीज से that खालीपन is going away. But the fact that you're experiencing khalipan is an important first step. And then you have to address it. I think, you can't, you should not ignore this feeling. You have to listen to your body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing which I think before we close this, sir, there's one request, but this last question is that I see a major trend where mental health issues are becoming very dominating, and many companies, many organizations that we deal with have psychologists coming to the workplace to do counseling session, right? What CEOs can do, what HR heads can do, what boards can do to ensure the situation doesn't come up in the organization.
It all starts with the awareness that the mental health of its employees is a vital factor to the business success of the organization. That productivity, quality, innovation, resilience, agility, all the things that we talked about as the requirements for success, they depend on the mental well-being of the employees. So it's not a nice to do thing, it's a vital business imperative. And if people become aware of that, then they will find ways of addressing it. But it all starts with that awareness and uh, also living in their behavior uh, the awareness that the mental health of my employees and my own mental health is a vital thing. And I
So they
need
have to
to
be
address it.
accountable for it.
Of course, they have to be accountable because if they're not, then the business will suffer. No?
What boards can do to make CEOs and HR heads accountable?
Ask them these questions. Ask for the data. Ask for the data. There are data, but there's a huge cost of mental health, and that data can be collected. Everything is to start with data, awareness, and then you collect the facts. And then you see the facts, and then what do we do about it?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much. Before I know you've been a theater artist for long, right, from your school days. I'm going to put you a little bit of a small request and say the most favorite dialogue or the most favorite act that you enacted. Can you can you say a few words in that theater style? I know you have a beautiful voice. You have a very soothing voice, but एक dialogue, sir, एक अच्छा dialogue, एक अच्छा act जो आपने किया था, just in your own way.
Life's but a walking shadow. It is a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Beautiful, beautiful.
This is from Macbeth. It's a bit dark, but that's the first line that came to my mind.
awesome. सर एक हिंदी में भी सुना दें.
सर हिंदी में तो
I know you've been an English theater guy, but
आदमी का जिस्म क्या है जिस पे शैदा है जहां एक मिट्टी की इमारत एक मिट्टी का मकान मौत की पुरजोर आंधी जब इसे टकराएगी ये इमारत टूट कर फिर खाक में मिल जाएगी रामदास जब निकलन लागे पलट गई नैन पुतरियां चार जना मिली खाट उठाएं छुट गई महल अटरिया कि जिसमें नारायण बोले कि बंगला खूब बना गुलजार कि जिसमें नारायण बोले
क्या बात है सर. क्या
पांच तत्व की ईंट बनी है तीन गुणों का गारा राम नाम की करनी बनी है आप बनावनहारा कि जिसमें नारायण बोले.
beautiful, sir. Beautiful. This has been, it's been so. As you were speaking these lines, I was getting goosebumps in my cells. But thank you so very much for sharing this with all of us. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Rajeev Dubey, sir, for all of you. And I'm sure I have reasons to believe that so much wisdom has gone into this podcast, and I'm sure all of us will benefit with this talk that we had from Dubey, sir. Dubey, sir, thank you so very much one more time for all your blessing, for everything that you shared with us today, sir.
It's my, as I said, my privilege, honor, and joy, and I'm truly humbled that you have given me this opportunity of sharing whatever thoughts I have.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.